Admiral Jessica Hayes stood motionless before the massive holographic display aboard the Imperial flagship Eternal Dawn. Her weathered fingers traced the impossible readings that danced across the quantum glass screen. 27 years of Imperial service hadn't prepared her for this moment. "Confirm these readings," she ordered, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "Run a complete diagnostic on all sensor arrays." Lieutenant Commander Marcus Chen's fingers flew across his console. "Ma'am, all systems are functioning at optimal capacity." "These readings," he paused, swallowing hard, "they're real." The holographic display showed hundreds of vessels materializing through what appeared to be tears in the fabric of spacetime itself. Each rupture glowed with a different spectral signature, defying every known law of faster-than-light travel. Some ships emerged through crystalline formations that seemed to shatter reality itself, while others slipped through waves of probability like ghosts becoming solid. "Impossible," muttered Dr. Eleanor Reed, the fleet's chief physicist. "Those vessels, they're each using different fundamental forces for propulsion. Look at these energy signatures: quantum displacement drives, probability engines, dark matter catalysts. Technologies that should destroy each other if they came within a light year of each other. Yet there they were, moving in perfect formation, their coordination suggesting a level of technological mastery that made the Empire's finest achievements look like a child's first steps." "Multiple configurations detected," reported Senior Analyst James Wilson. "No matching designs in our database. These aren't rogue elements from the Outer Rim, and they're definitely not Nomad Raiders." He paused, his face pale. "Admiral, some of these ships are larger than our largest dreadnoughts." Hayes felt a chill run down her spine as she studied the tactical display. The unknown fleet had emerged in a perfect spherical formation, their positioning so precise it could only be deliberate. They weren't just showing off their technological superiority. They were demonstrating their absolute control over spacetime itself. "Energy readings are off the charts," Lieutenant Sarah Foster announced from her station. "But here's the strange part. They're not generating any waste heat. Whatever their power source is, it's operating at impossible efficiency levels." The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as more vessels continued to emerge. Each ship was unique, as if deliberately showcasing different technological approaches. Some seemed to bend light around them, while others appeared to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "Admiral," Chen called out, his voice tight, "we're detecting movement from the fleet." "There," he trailed off, checking his readings again. "They're reconfiguring their formation." Hayes watched as the sphere of ships began to shift, moving with fluid grace that belied their massive size. The formation transformed into an intricate geometric pattern that seemed to pulse with hidden meaning. "It's a display of precision," Hayes breathed, understanding dawning in her eyes. "They're showing us they could have emerged anywhere, perhaps even inside our defense perimeter. This is a demonstration." "Admiral," Foster interrupted, "we're receiving a transmission. It's being broadcast on all frequencies, including ones we thought were secure." "The message," she hesitated, "it's in perfect Imperial standard." Hayes nodded, bracing herself. "Put it through." The bridge speakers crackled to life with a message that would change the course of galactic history. "We come seeking those who attacked Earth." The temperature on the bridge seemed to drop several degrees. Hayes had never heard of Earth, but something about the way the message was delivered, calm, confident, almost casual, sent shivers down her spine. "Send word to High Command," she ordered, her eyes fixed on the magnificent and terrible fleet before them, "and begin evacuating all non-essential personnel from the border systems. Something tells me the Empire is about to experience some significant changes." As her crew rushed to comply with her orders, Hayes couldn't shake the feeling that they were witnessing more than just first contact. This was a revelation, proof that everything the Empire thought they knew about their place in the galaxy had been built on foundations of sand. The unknown fleet hung in space like a silent judgment, their very presence rewriting the rules of what was possible. And somewhere in the Imperial archives, a dusty file about a long-forgotten scout ship might hold the key to understanding why they had come. Commander Marcus Sullivan stood at the helm of the Resolute Dawn, his flagship's quantum displays showing the Imperial diplomatic vessel approaching through the carefully maintained neutral space. The corners of his mouth twitched slightly. The Empire's choice of a diplomatic ship was telling. Its hull configuration suggested heavy weapons hidden beneath the ornate exterior. "They still think we're a potential threat," Lieutenant Amanda Parker observed from her tactical station. "Should we inform them that we can see through their hull polarization?" Sullivan shook his head. "Let them keep their security blanket. We're not here to humiliate them." He paused, watching the Imperial vessel's cautious approach. "Though I admit, their attempt at concealment is almost endearing." The human fleet maintained its complex geometric formation, each ship moving in perfect synchronization despite using wildly different propulsion systems. To the Imperial observers, it must have looked like a demonstration of impossible technological mastery. In reality, it was just Tuesday for the combined human fleet. "Imperial vessel is hailing us," Communications Officer Jack Reynolds announced. "They're using their highest-grade encryption. Should I let them know we broke that code 70 years ago?" "Not yet," Sullivan replied, smoothing his uniform. "Let's keep some cards close to our chest. Open the channel." The main display flickered to life, revealing Lord Xanthor, the Empire's senior diplomatic officer. His scaled features were carefully composed, but Sullivan could read the tension in his posture. "Greetings, unknown vessels," Xanthor began in carefully measured tones. "I am Lord Xanthor of House Meridian," Sullivan interrupted smoothly. "Senior diplomatic officer of the Imperial Fleet, decorated veteran of the Rimward campaigns, and current heir to the 7th seat of the Imperial Council." He allowed himself a small smile. "We've done our homework." The Imperial diplomat's composure cracked for just a moment. "You seem well-informed." "We believe in thorough research," Sullivan replied, "just as we believe in direct communication. 200 years ago, Imperial scout ship Vector's Pride attacked a planet in what you designated as the Untamed Regions. We are here regarding that incident." In the Imperial vessel's diplomatic chamber, Dr. Emily Richardson felt her blood run cold as she accessed the classified files on her quantum tablet. The information was heavily redacted, but certain details stood out. A scout ship lost during a routine survey mission, a primitive world that showed unusual energy readings, and a final transmission that made no sense. "Commander," she whispered to Xanthor, "the files indicate the scout ship reported impossible technological advancement before contact was lost. They claimed the primitive species was somehow evolving their technology in real time during the attack." Sullivan watched the subtle interaction with interest. "Dr. Richardson," he called out, causing the Imperial scientist to start at being addressed directly. "The files you're reading are incomplete. Would you like to know what actually happened?" Without waiting for a response, Sullivan gestured, and a holographic display materialized in the space between the ships. It showed a scene from 2 centuries ago. An Imperial scout ship opening fire on a planet, only to find its weapons being analyzed and countered in real time. The ship's own technology was being scanned, understood, and improved upon even as it attacked. "That was humanity's first contact with alien life," Sullivan explained, his voice carrying a weight of history. "You came to our world, attacked without provocation, and gave us our first glimpse of the stars. But more importantly, you gave us something invaluable: a head start on understanding galactic technology." The Imperial delegation watched in stunned silence as the hologram showed the scout ship being captured intact, its crew safely contained by defenses that shouldn't have existed on a primitive world. "We learned from you," Sullivan continued. "Then we learned from the others who came after. Each attack, each probe, each attempted invasion, they all contributed to our understanding. While you thought Earth was an isolated backwater, we were studying, adapting, and preparing." Lord Xanthor finally found his voice. Preparing for what? Sullivan's expression grew grave. That's what we're here to discuss. Because the real threat isn't the Empire or any other known civilization. It's what's coming from beyond the galactic rim. And we're going to need each other to survive what happens next. Fleet Captain Michael Anderson walked through the holographic display chamber of the Resilience, his footsteps echoing against the polished quantum crystal floor. The Imperial delegation followed, their expressions a mixture of awe and barely concealed fear as the room shifted around them, transforming into a perfect recreation of Earth's solar system. 2 centuries ago, Anderson began, gesturing at a holographic Earth. Your scout ship arrived here. We were just beginning to explore our own solar system, taking our first tentative steps into space. The attack should have ended us. He smiled. Instead, it gave us purpose. Lieutenant James Cooper stepped forward, his hands dancing through the holographic controls. The scene changed to show the captured Imperial scout ship, suspended in a containment field that shouldn't have existed in that era. Your weapons gave us plasma technology, Cooper explained, highlighting different sections of the vessel. Your engines taught us about quantum mechanics. Your navigation systems revealed the existence of faster-than-light travel. But most importantly, he paused, looking directly at Dr. Emily Richardson. Your ship's database showed us we weren't alone. The holographic display shifted again, showing a series of alien vessels, each one different from the last. After your scout ship, others came, Anderson continued. The Centauri Collective tried to establish a beachhead in our asteroid belt. The Nebula Nomads attempted to see our atmosphere with nanites. The Crystal Consortium launched autonomous probers. Each attack, Cooper added, manipulating the display to show various technological components, brought new gifts. The Centauri taught us advanced material science. The Nomads gave us biotechnology. The Consortium showed us quantum computing. Dr. Richardson stepped closer to one of the displays, her scientific curiosity overcoming her caution. But these technologies, they're fundamentally incompatible. The energy signatures would interfere with each other. The theoretical frameworks don't align. Anderson nodded approvingly. That was the common wisdom. Every spacefaring race specialized in one technological path, believing others to be mutually exclusive. We didn't know that was supposed to be impossible, so we made them work together. The room transformed into a vast laboratory space. Holographic scientists worked on impossible devices, machines that combined quantum mechanics with biological computing, ships that used crystalline structures to channel dark energy, weapons that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Humanity's greatest advantage, Cooper explained, was our ignorance of what couldn't be done. We saw technology not as separate paths, but as tools in a vast workshop. Why choose one path when you could weave them all together? Lord Santhor watched as a holographic display showed a human vessel using 5 different types of FTL drive simultaneously. This is unprecedented. The level of advancement isn't about advancement, Anderson interrupted. It's about perspective. Every species that found us thought they were superior, tried to conquer or destroy us. But each one looked at the universe through a single lens. We learned to use them all. The display shifted one final time, showing a massive structure hidden in the depths of space. This is why we revealed ourselves now, Anderson said softly. This is what your sensors detected 3 months ago on the edge of Imperial space, though you didn't understand what you were seeing. The Imperial delegation stared at the strange geometric anomaly. What is it? Dr. Richardson whispered. A quantum echo, Cooper replied. A shadow of something massive moving through subspace, something that's consumed 1,000 civilizations before, each one locked into their single path of technological development, each one unable to adapt when faced with something that could counter their sole advantage. Anderson's expression grew solemn. We spent 2 centuries preparing, not for revenge, but for this. Earth became a fortress, our solar system a laboratory, our people united in a single purpose, survival, not just for humanity, but for all sentient life. The room returned to its neutral state, the holograms fading away. "The Empire needs to make a choice," Anderson stated. "You can cling to your pride, your belief in your technological superiority, or you can join us in facing what's coming. Because this time, one path won't be enough. We'll need them all." The Imperial delegation stood in silence, the weight of the revelation settling over them. Humanity hadn't just survived. They had turned every attack into an opportunity, every would-be conqueror into an unwitting teacher, and now they were offering to share everything they had learned. If only the Empire was willing to listen. High Admiral Victor Drell of the Imperial First Fleet stood on his command bridge, his jaw set in grim determination. Behind him, Senior Analyst Rachel Thompson's warnings echoed in his mind. Their technology isn't just advanced, it's beyond our comprehension. This isn't a fight we can win. He had dismissed her, of course. The Empire had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. They wouldn't be cowed by upstart humans, no matter how impressive their parlor tricks seemed. "All ships, battle formation Delta," he commanded. "Show these humans what real military might looks like." Across the void of space, Admiral Catherine Walsh watched the Imperial fleet's movements from her command chair aboard the Defiant Light. Her lips curved into a slight smile as she observed their textbook formations. "They're deploying exactly as the historical simulations predicted," Lieutenant Commander Sarah Foster reported from her tactical station. "Standard Imperial doctrine hasn't changed in 3 centuries. Walsh nodded, her fingers dancing across her neural interface. "All ships, initiate Training Protocol 7. Non-lethal responses only. Consider this a live-fire exercise." The Imperial fleet launched their attack with devastating precision. Waves of plasma torpedoes, quantum disruptors, and graviton beams streaked across space. It was a display of firepower that had broken countless alien armadas throughout history. The human ships didn't even attempt to evade. Impact in 3, 2, 1. High Admiral Drell leaned forward expectantly. The weapons simply passed through the human vessels as if they were holograms. Walsh's voice came across all Imperial channels, calm and almost educational. "Lesson 1. Multi-dimensional phase shifting. Your weapons are only targeting our 3-dimensional coordinates." Before the Imperial fleet could adjust, the human ships began to move. Each vessel seemed to flow through space like liquid mercury, their movements defying every known law of physics. Some ships appeared to be in multiple places simultaneously, while others seemed to bend reality around them. Lesson 2. Quantum probability manipulation, Walsh continued. "Your targeting systems can't lock onto what might be everywhere at once." High Admiral Drell's composure cracked as his fleet's sophisticated targeting systems went dark. "Impossible. All ships, switch to manual targeting. Launch all fighters." "Sir," his tactical officer called out, panic in his voice. "Our fighters. They're all landing themselves. Our override codes aren't working." Walsh's voice carried a hint of amusement. Lesson 3. Neural Interface Superiority. "Your AI systems recognize our command protocols as higher priority than yours. They always have." In the space of 2 minutes, the mighty Imperial First Fleet had been reduced to floating hulks, their weapons disabled, their engines dead, their communication systems broadcasting human tactical analyses of their performance. "This is impossible," Drell whispered, watching his mighty armada drift helplessly. "We are the Imperial fleet. We have ruled the stars for millennia." "Final lesson," Walsh replied, her voice now carrying steel beneath its calm exterior. "Pride is the enemy of adaptation. You've ruled the stars because no one could challenge you. But out there in the dark, something is coming that makes our little demonstration look primitive in comparison." Rachel Thompson's voice cut through the silence on the Imperial command channel. 6 minutes. That's all it took them. And they weren't even trying to destroy us. The human ships began systematically restoring power to the Imperial vessels, their crews unharmed but thoroughly shaken. Walsh's final message broadcast across all frequencies. "The Empire has a choice to make. You can cling to your pride and face extinction, or you can admit that the universe is larger and stranger than you imagined. We're offering an alliance not because we need your help, but because we choose to save everyone we can, even those who once tried to destroy us. High Admiral Drell stood amid his powerless command bridge, watching the casualty reports, or rather, the lack thereof. Not a single Imperial life lost. Not one ship destroyed. It hadn't been a battle. It had been a teaching moment. And in those 6 minutes, the Empire's understanding of its place in the universe had changed forever. They weren't the masters of space and time they had thought themselves to be. They were students who had only begun to learn what was possible. Director Thomas Harrison stood before the assembled Imperial High Council, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic displays floating around him. The chamber's ancient marble walls had witnessed 10,000 years of Imperial history, but never a presentation like this. "What you're about to see," Harrison began, his voice grave, "is why Earth chose isolation. Why we spent 2 centuries preparing instead of exploring. The truth behind every probe, every scout ship, and every attempted invasion of our world." Colonel Alexandra Mitchell stepped forward, her uniform bearing no rank insignia or decorations, the mark of Earth's Special Projects Division. "Computer, initiate Protocol Omega. Authorization, Mitchell 7 Delta 9. The chamber's lights dimmed as a 3-dimensional star map materialized around them. Hundreds of worlds glowed like jewels in the darkness, then began to wink out one by one. "These are the worlds we found in the databanks of your scout ship," Mitchell explained, her fingers tracing paths between the dying stars. "Ancient civilizations, each as advanced as the Empire in their own way, each one gone without a trace." An Imperial Council member leaned forward, his scaled features catching the light. "Gone. Impossible. Our surveys show no evidence of such civilizations." Harrison smiled grimly. "Exactly. No ruins, no debris, no residual energy signatures. Not just destroyed. Consumed. Every atom repurposed, every trace erased, as if they never existed at all." The display shifted to show a massive structure, its geometry seeming to bend in ways that hurt the eyes. "We detected this 3 months ago, moving through subspace at the edge of Imperial territory. Your sensors picked it up too, but you didn't know what you were seeing." "The confluence," Mitchell continued, bringing up detailed scans. "That's what the last messages of the Zenith Empire called it, before they vanished 5,000 years ago. The collective consciousness that devours civilizations, absorbing their knowledge and technology." The council chamber erupted in murmurs as Harrison brought up another display. This one showing the wreckage of an ancient vessel, its design unlike anything in Imperial records. "We found this in the Kuiper belt of our solar system," he explained. "A survivor of the Zenith Empire, carrying a warning that never reached its destination. The confluence doesn't just destroy civilizations, it studies them first. Those attacks on Earth, they weren't random. They were probes sent by civilizations already under its control." Mitchell's hands danced through the holographic controls, showing tactical simulations. Each species that attacked us had mastered one path of technological development. The Empire specialized in quantum mechanics. The Centauri Collective focused on biological computing. The Crystal Consortium pursued dimensional engineering. "And the confluence," Harrison added, his voice heavy, "absorbs them all. It learns their strengths, adapts to their weapons, and turns their own technology against them. No single approach can defeat it." The display showed footage from Earth's defense platforms, massive structures that combine dozens of technological paths in ways that should have been impossible. "This is why we had to master everything," Mitchell explained. "Why we turned our entire solar system into a laboratory and fortress. We needed to understand every path, every possibility, to have any hope of survival." An Imperial scientist stood, her voice trembling. "But the technological contradictions, the power requirements alone would be impossible," Harrison interrupted gently. just like our ships during your fleet's attack. The confluence isn't bound by what you think is possible. Neither could we be. The chamber fell silent as the final hologram appeared. A massive wave of geometric anomalies, spreading across the galaxy like a tide of unreality. "It's coming," Mitchell stated flatly. "Not for Earth, not for the Empire, but for everything. Every world, every species, every civilization. And it's closer than you think." Harrison faced the Council directly. "We didn't reveal ourselves out of fear or necessity. Earth could survive what's coming. We've spent centuries making sure of that. We're here because despite everything, despite all the attacks and attempted invasions, humanity decided that survival alone wasn't enough." The holograms faded, leaving only the stark reality of the situation. "The Empire has ruled the stars for 10,000 years, Harrison concluded. "Now we're asking you to help us ensure there are stars left to rule. Not just for humanity, not just for the Empire, but for all life in this galaxy." The Council chamber remained silent, the weight of the revelation settling over them like a shroud. The Empire's greatest fear had been human retaliation for that centuries-old attack. Now they faced something far worse, a threat that had been patiently stalking them all while they squabbled amongst themselves. Dr. William Parker walked through the Imperial Science Academy's main laboratory, his footsteps echoing off walls that had witnessed countless breakthrough discoveries. Today, those same walls would witness something unprecedented: the sharing of human technological innovations that would rewrite the Empire's understanding of physics itself. "Your current quantum drives operate at roughly 30% efficiency," he explained to the gathered Imperial scientists, his hands manipulating a holographic engine schematic. "By incorporating biocrystal matrices into the containment fields, we can push that to 80%. Professor Marcus Hayes, the Empire's leading quantum theorist, shook his head in disbelief. "Biological components would destabilize the quantum matrix. The energy variance alone would." Parker smiled, pressing a button on his wrist computer. A small device materialized on the central table, humming with impossible harmony. Sometimes the best way to overcome theoretical limitations is to ignore them entirely. "Watch." The device pulsed once, creating a localized quantum field that somehow incorporated living crystal structures into its matrix. The Imperial sensors around the room went wild, recording energy efficiency levels that their builders had deemed impossible. Across the capital, General Jennifer Roberts stood in the Imperial Military Command Center, surrounded by tactical displays showing joint fleet exercises. The human ships danced through space alongside Imperial vessels, teaching maneuvers that defied conventional physics. "Your crews are adapting remarkably well," she noted to Admiral Catherine Drake, the Empire's fleet commander. "They've already grasped the basics of probability shifting and quantum targeting." Drake watched as her ships attempted to mimic the human vessel's fluid movements. 3 days ago, I would have said this was impossible. Now my crews are learning to think 5-dimensionally during combat maneuvers. "The key," Roberts explained, manipulating the tactical display, "is understanding that space-time isn't rigid. Your ships try to push through it. Ours convince it to cooperate." In another section of the capital, Lieutenant Commander Rebecca Anderson worked with Imperial security forces, upgrading their defense networks with hybrid technology. "Your current systems scan for threats in normal space," she explained to the bewildered security chief. "But the real dangers often hide between dimensions." She demonstrated by having a human shuttle perform a routine delivery run, passing straight through the Empire's supposedly impenetrable defensive screens as if they weren't there. "Don't worry," she added, seeing their expressions. "We'll show you how to prevent that." The Empire's best minds were discovering that everything they knew about technology, about physics, about the very nature of reality, was just the beginning. Humanity hadn't just mastered various technological paths, they had found ways to weave them together into something entirely new. "Your civilization achieved amazing things by focusing on quantum mechanics," Dr. Parker explained to a group of wide-eyed Imperial students. The Centauri mastered biological computing. The Crystal Consortium perfected dimensional engineering. But humanity, we refused to choose. We took every path, learned every technique, and found ways to make them work together. In the Imperial War Room, General Roberts showed tactical simulations of the approaching threat. The confluence adapts to whatever it faces, she explained. Hit it with quantum weapons, it becomes immune. Try biological warfare. It absorbs and repurposes the attack. Use dimensional tricks, it learns to counter them. But if we combine all approaches simultaneously? Admiral Drake asked, beginning to understand. Roberts nodded. Exactly. It can't adapt to everything at once. That's why Earth spent centuries mastering every technological path we could find. No single approach will work, but all of them together might give us a fighting chance. As the day drew to a close, Dr. Parker stood with Professor Hayes, watching the capital's twin suns set. Your people built an empire that lasted 10,000 years, Parker said softly. You created wonders, explored the stars, achieved greatness. Now we're asking you to unlearn much of what you know, to accept that the impossible is merely improbable. Hayes looked at the small quantum bio device still humming on his lab bench. Perhaps, he replied, that's exactly what we needed. The Empire grew comfortable, convinced we had reached the pinnacle of achievement. You're showing us how much further we can go. The alliance was forming, not through force or fear, but through shared discovery and mutual respect. Humanity had spent centuries preparing for this moment, not just to fight the confluence, but to help lift every civilization to new heights of achievement. The Empire was learning that true strength lay not in ruling the stars, but in understanding how much more there was to learn about them. Major David Anderson guided the Imperial delegation's shuttle through what appeared to be empty space at the edge of the Orion Arm. To the naked eye, there was nothing but stars and void. To the shuttle's enhanced sensors, augmented with human technology, reality itself seemed to peel back like layers of an onion. Welcome, Anderson announced, to Fortress Network 7. The void shimmered, and suddenly they weren't in empty space anymore. Massive structures materialized around them, shipyards stretching for thousands of kilometers, defense platforms that phased between dimensions, and swarms of automated repair drones that seemed to ignore physics entirely. Impossible, breathed Admiral Elizabeth Chen of the Imperial Survey Corps. We've mapped every sector of the galaxy. This region has been empty space for millennia. Captain Olivia Martinez, seated at the shuttle's tactical station, allowed herself a small smile. Empty space is humanity's greatest hiding place. Your sensors only looked for structures in normal spacetime. We built in the spaces between. The shuttle passed through a quantum barrier that somehow existed in 5 dimensions simultaneously. Beyond it lay a sight that made even the most seasoned Imperial officers gasp, a vast construction yard where ships of impossible design took shape. Each vessel, Lieutenant Commander Ryan Cooper explained from his engineering station, combines technologies from at least 7 different civilizations. Quantum cores from the Empire, biological computers from the Centauri, phase drives from the Crystal Consortium, all working in harmony. Anderson piloted them past a massive sensor array that seemed to fold in on itself in ways that hurt the eyes. This is just one node in our early warning network. We have similar installations throughout what you thought was empty space. The galaxy's periphery isn't vacant. It's one giant detection grid. How long? Admiral Chen asked, her voice barely a whisper. How long have you been building all this? Since the day your scout ship attacked Earth, Martins replied. Every probe, every attempted invasion gave us new technology to work with. We didn't just reverse engineer their weapons. We rebuilt their sensors, studied their detection methods, learned how they hid. Then we found ways to hide from them all. The shuttle approached what appeared to be a normal asteroid. As they drew closer, its surface rippled like water, revealing a massive hangar bay. Inside, Ships of every known species sat in various stages of reconstruction. We captured them all, Cooper explained, noting the Imperial officers' recognition of certain vessels. Studied them, improved them, and kept them ready. Not as trophies, but as templates. Each represents a different approach to space travel, combat, and survival. Anderson brought the shuttle to rest on a landing pad that seemed to exist in multiple probability states at once. The confluence doesn't just destroy civilizations, he explained as they disembarked. It studies them first, learns their weaknesses, adapts to their defenses. But it's never encountered a species that mastered all paths simultaneously. The delegation walked through halls where human engineers worked alongside artificial intelligences and living crystal matrices. Quantum computers merged seamlessly with biological processors. Dimensional anchors stabilized reality itself around experimental technology. Your empire mapped the stars, Martine said, leading them to a vast command center. But we mapped the spaces between them. While you searched for new worlds to rule, we built a fortress in your blind spots. The command center's main display activated, showing a real-time map of the galaxy. Thousands of hidden installations pulsed with life, each monitoring different aspects of space-time. Warning buoys disguised as comets, sensor arrays masquerading as nebulae, entire fleets hiding in dimensional pockets. The storm is coming, Anderson announced, pointing to a disturbing pattern of quantum echoes at the galaxy's edge. But humanity didn't spend 2 centuries cowering in fear. We spent it preparing, not just for our survival, but for everyone's. Admiral Chen stared at the displays, her worldview shifting as dramatically as the reality around them. The Earth hadn't been hiding from the galaxy. They had been its silent guardians, building a defense network of unprecedented scale and sophistication. And as the first true signs of the confluence's approach registered on their sensors, she understood that humanity's greatest achievement wasn't their technology or their ingenuity. It was their foresight, the willingness to spend centuries preparing for a threat that no one else had even recognized. Admiral Elizabeth Morgan stood before the Galactic Senate, her dress uniform bearing no medals or decorations, a stark contrast to the ornately adorned representatives of 100 spacefaring civilizations. The Senate chamber, with its towering crystal spires and quantum-enhanced acoustics, had witnessed 10,000 years of galactic politics. Today, it would witness something entirely new. 2 centuries ago, Morgan began, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. Humanity faced its first alien contact. It came in the form of an attack. We were primitive, earthbound, barely reaching for our own moon. By all rights, we should have been conquered or destroyed. The Imperial representative shifted uncomfortably in his seat, but Morgan continued with a gentle smile. Instead, we learned. When the Centauri came, we learned again. When the Crystal Consortium probed our defenses, we learned more. Each civilization that found us thought they were superior, yet each taught us something invaluable. Holographic displays materialized around the chamber, showing the approaching confluence, a vast, geometric horror that bent reality around itself. Now we face something that has devoured 1,000 civilizations, something that adapts to any weapon, counters any strategy, absorbs any technology it encounters. Commander Sarah Richardson stepped forward, activating a different set of displays. They showed massive defense platforms, hidden fleets, and impossible technologies, all working in perfect harmony. But humanity's greatest achievement isn't our technology or our strategies, or even our fortresses. The displays shifted again, showing something that made the Senate chamber fall silent. Ships of every civilization in known space, modified with human innovations, working together in perfect coordination. Quantum drives merged with biological computers, crystal matrices enhanced with imperial technology, dimensional sensors powered by energy systems that shouldn't have been compatible. Our greatest achievement, Morgan continued, is this moment. Look around you. The Empire sits beside the Centauri Collective. The Crystal Consortium shares data with the Nebula Nomads. Ancient enemies now work together, sharing knowledge that was once held as sacred and secret. Lieutenant James Foster activated the final display, a comprehensive defense plan that incorporated the strengths of every civilization in the chamber. "We didn't spend centuries building weapons," he explained. "We spent them building bridges, understanding every path, every approach, every perspective. Not to conquer, but to connect." The Senate watched in awe as the simulation played out. No single fleet could stand against the confluence, but together, using strategies and technologies that crossed all boundaries, they had a fighting chance. "Humanity's gift to the galaxy isn't our technology," Morgan declared, her voice filled with quiet conviction. "It's the proof that we are all stronger together. The Empire's quantum mastery, enhanced by Centauri biological computing, Crystal Consortium phase technology, powered by nebula energy matrices, every civilization contributing its unique strength, creating something greater than the sum of its parts." The chamber erupted in discussion as representatives saw their own technologies seamlessly integrated into the greater whole. Ancient rivals discovered their approaches complemented each other in ways they'd never imagined possible. "The confluence devours civilizations because it faces them one at a time," Richardson explained. "Each species, locked into its single path of development, becomes predictable, adaptable, consumable, but together, combining all paths simultaneously. That's something it has never encountered." Morgan faced the Senate, her expression solemn yet hopeful. "We stand at a crossroads. The enemy approaches. We can face it as we always have, separate, proud, isolated. Or we can do something unprecedented, something impossible. We can stand together." One by one, the representatives of 100 civilizations rose to their feet. Ancient enemies clasped hands. Rival powers shared secrets. The Senate chamber, which had witnessed countless debates and political maneuverings, now witnessed something far more powerful: unity. As the combined fleet assembled in the void between stars, ships of every design moving in perfect coordination, humanity's true victory became clear. They hadn't just survived their trial by fire. They hadn't just prepared for the coming storm. They had done something far more difficult and far more valuable. They had taught the galaxy how to hope again.